Shalom. Last week we had a Devar Torah and we spoke about the Ish that was wrestling with Yaakov, and that same Ish that led Yosef into a lot of trouble with his brothers, and yet that Ish who caused so much harm to Yaakov and to Yosef brought them both to a higher madrega, to a higher state. Yaakov was called Yisrael, Yosef became the viceroy of Egypt, and Rabbi Soloveitchik Zal said that there is this Ish in our history which always brings about a great deal of pain and suffering, but brings us to the higher madrega, to a higher classification, a higher plateau, until the Olat HaShachar, the ultimate dawn will come, the Geula Shalema. So that's what I spoke about last week, and it was suggested that I try it a few more times. Some said even every week, and put it on the synagogue website. I'll see if we can do that. But whenever a nice idea presents itself, that I should share it with other people, which I certainly would like to do. So that having been said, we have coming up this coming Shabbat, the parasha of Vayaishev. And I have an idea on that, which I believe is an original one. I'm not sure whether it is or not. If it is, fine. If you know somebody else said it, I'll be glad to give the credit. But what it all has to do with is that when we end a parasha, the Anshe Kabbalah, the ones who were, the Sofrim I really should say, who were involved in setting up the paragraphs, the classifications of the Torah reading, always saw to it that each parasha ended on a siman bracha, on something which was a blessing, but at least not to leave it on something which is bad, a klala, a curse, or something like that. We never like to end on that. And all the Gabaim know, those who are Gabaim in Shul, that when you have to make a hafsakah, when you have to add some people on Shabbat, if there's a simcha at the end, they always look for the break to be at a good point, never a bad situation. And that leads to a very interesting question of how Vayaishev ends, how that Sedra ends. Let me read you the closing pasuk, the closing sentence. V'lo zachar sahamashkim et Yosef vayishkachehu. And the wine pourer did not remember Joseph, and he forgot him. What was happening here? We know that Joseph interpreted the dreams of the wine bearer as opposed to the baker of Pharaoh, and he said, you will be returned wine pourer, you will, chamberlain, whatever you want to call him, you'll be returned to your post of before, and when you are standing before Pharaoh again, please remember me, Yosef, to Pharaoh. I didn't do anything with Potiphar's wife. I'm totally innocent. Please remember me so that I could get out. Well, we know what happened. Not only did the Sar HaMashkim, the wine pourer, not remember Yosef, but the Torah is specific in putting it even more. Vayishkachehu, he forgot him. Double jeopardy. He didn't remember him, and he forgot him. And poor Yosef had to keep sitting in jail as a result of this forgetting for another 2 years. Now, you might say, is this a good ending for the Torah? And the interesting thing is that when you have a double thing like this, it reminds me of a little story about a man who was living in the Bronx, old Mr. Ginsberg. And he had his little chevra, his little group of people, in the mornings when he used to go to shul to say the prayers, and they had a little tea and biscuits after, and it was very nice. But he was all by himself, so his children said that they would do something great for him. They're all going to chip in and send him to Israel. Imagine, Mr. Ginsberg all his life wanted to be in Israel. Now they're going to give him the opportunity. So they sent him off, but as it turned out, he didn't have his little group of friends there. He didn't have his little minion in the morning, his cup of tea, his donuts, and he was pretty miserable. So as they contacted him and realized this, they said, we know what the problem is. He can't speak Hebrew well. So we're going to send him to an ulpan and teach him there the language, and then he'll feel at home with the people. So Mr. Ginsburg went off to the ulpan, and after a week or two, he wrote a postcard to his children. Ani ba'aretz, tov ba'aretz. And the people from the ulpan were so thrilled, and they said, Mr. Ginsburg, the Ivrit, of course, they spoke to him. How is it that now you're so happy that you're in Israel and it's good in Israel? He said, you don't understand what I wrote. What I wrote to my children was, Ani ba'aretz, ich bin in Dred, tov ba'aretz, gut in Dred. Now you have to know Yiddish to understand this. What he was saying is, I'm in the ground. And if that isn't enough, I'm good in the ground. And that's the way it seems that the Torah, this parasha, ends, that the Sar HaMashkin not only did not remember Joseph, but he forgot him. And so Joseph, for 2 more years, sat in jail, good in jail. Is this a happy ending of the parasha? So I have an idea on this, which I'd like to share with you. We say in the Masechet Brachot, that Chayav Adam Lavarech Al Hara'ah, a person must bless what he conceives to be evil, the same way Sheyavarech Al Tova, that he blesses on the good. So when God forbids something really bad happens, he says Dayan HaEmet, blessed be the true judge. And when something good happens, he says Hatova HaMeitiv, that God is good and does good. So what is happening here with Joseph is very interesting. In the short run, certainly it was not good. It was a bad ending of the parasha for him. But in the long run, it was the greatest blessing that could have happened for him. Why? Because had the Sar HaMashkin, the wine pourer, remembered Joseph to Pharaoh, and Pharaoh would have said, all right, get out, Eved, what did he call him? Nar Ivri, you little Jewish boy there, go out. He would have paroled him. They would have tossed him out the back door of the prison. He would have gone back to his father Yaakov. He would have told Yaakov what happened. His brothers would have started a riot. The whole family would have been destroyed, and Jewish history would not have continued as God intended it. But so what happened instead? 2 more years he had to wait. Then the Viceroy became a reality. He became the ruler under Pharaoh of Egypt. You know the story. And because of the fact that the Sar HaMashkin, the chamberlain, remembered Joseph at that point with the dreams, that's how Joseph became the Viceroy of Egypt, and the family was reconciliated later, and Jewish history continued as it should. So I think there's something for all of us to realize here, that we should never conceive, Judaism doesn't conceive, of there being a total evil, just a plain evil without any redeeming factors in it. We believe that no matter how bad things are, there are always the seeds of good coming. Vayhi Erev, it's evening, but Vayhi Voker, the morning is coming. And that's what we should remember when we have troubles. Yes, it may seem bad at the moment, but if we can just hold out and just keep looking for the good will come. And now, it also being the eve of Chanukah, let's always, instead of cursing the darkness, light candles and bring light into the world and be an Oel HaGoyim, a beacon of light unto the nations. Or Chadash al Tzion Ta'ir, may a new light shine upon Tzion, V'niske Chulana Meherah Le'oro, and may we all merit and be part and enjoy the new light. B'mheira v'yameinu. Amen. Shabbat Shalom.